So the other day, I was thinking about a time in my life shortly after I had come to the realization that the call on my life was not just tethered to the people I was called to serve in industry, but that God had given me something unique for me to do for the kingdom. Entirely my thing, not in concert just with artists and songwriters and producers. And around the time that I was really leaning into that, trying to understand that, becoming enthusiastic about doing that, and taking some real chances, investing in myself to begin to develop that calling, I hit a overwhelming financial crisis. Really bad stuff. And it was very frustrating because I was very honestly spending so much time investing, and not just financially, but in terms of my energy, in terms of service to others, in terms of looking for opportunities where I could be a blessing, in terms of prayer, devotion time. And my concept was that if I was doing all of those things, I wouldn't ever have to struggle. And here I was struggling. I mean, really, really struggling. Like, how do you pay the rent? Struggling. How do you buy gas? Struggling. And I was at a place in my life where it was really hard to turn to family members or friends and ask for help. One day I was driving around my neighborhood and I was praying and I was listening to some music that I thought would really minister to me. And I just began to weep. I had to pull over into a parking lot and I really was just asking God, why? What hadn't I done? What more was needed for me to not just have breakthrough, but to just be sustainable? And the Holy Spirit said to me so clearly, God is not your provider. He is your provision. God is not your provider. He is your provision. I really let that sink in. And I tried to understand. It wasn't about me coming to God and looking for things. It wasn't about me approaching him as a conduit for material goods. It was about me leaning into him and his character and understanding in him was all my sufficiency. He was my provision. He was my provision. And out of relationship and intimacy with him, resource would come. God is my provision. Now, one of the things that I wrote down during this time really stuck with me and really changed how I approached everything. And I want to share that with you. It seemed that almost daily in my talks with the Lord, I found myself begging and pleading with him to do something rather than realizing he already was something. We serve a God whose eyes are ever toward us. He never glances away, ever. He is well acquainted with our unknowns, and he knows the desires of our hearts. He orders our steps because we have fixed our hearts upon him. And just as he does for every living thing in nature, he provides daily for our needs. It's important for us to realize that this is so much more than an issue of money. It's entirely an issue of perspective. A goal in our walk with God is to move from seeing him as our provider to seeing him as our provision. God is the goal. It's not about the extension of his hand toward us. It's about him extending himself toward us. He's not merely the keeper of our blessings. He is our blessing. He is our blessing, and he is enough. God is not our provider. He is our provision. Rest in that and know that as you lean toward him, he'll lean toward you. As you embrace the calling that he has ordained for you, he obligates himself to be enough. He will accomplish that calling in and through you. It's going to happen. Be encouraged.